Hi, my name is Keenan,
And I'm Dominique.
and you're listening to Saving Lives with Drones. This is episode number 4.
Number 4. We're rolling.
So, how's your Thanksgiving?
Great. Can't complain. Actually, there's no way to complain because I got pie wasted.
You got pie
Sweet
wasted?
Potato pie wasted.
I got turkey wasted. And I got green bean casserole wasted.
Leftovers?
No, you may not have my leftovers. There are leftovers, but you're not going to have them.
Oh, that's.
Because that's sacred. Because there are a few things that are sacred to a man. One of them, French fries. Never touch another man's French fries.
Heard that before.
Another, green bean casserole.
I have to write that one down.
You have to write that one down.
I have to write it down.
It's okay, though.
Yep.
All right. So what do we...
I think we should give a shout out.
We should give a shout out before we go ahead and jump into this episode.
To who?
To who? Skyro Aero Imagery Services. Midwest, one of the Midwest's leading aero imagery companies that are out here, providing data collection for agriculture, real estate, film,
Just everything in
just
between.
everything that you're doing, videography, photography, inspections, the whole 9 yards. They help pay the bills, and we're thankful to have them.
Very much so.
So what are we going to talk about today?
Today we are going to talk about how would we go about selecting a drone.
Okay.
And I guess the selecting a drone checklist, if you may.
Okay.
What do I need to know? What should I consider when I'm selecting the drone that I'm going to be using?
I think the very first thing I think about before I even think about the drone itself is the application, the environment where I'm going to apply it, what type of data I need to be able to collect. We all think right away with the drone, we think, okay, we need a camera on the drone. So, electro-optical camera, which is like a typical everyday camera we have like on our cell phones and whatnot, you definitely want a drone with at least that. The other type of data you might want to collect is thermal imaging data.
Okay.
So you can actually see temperatures and be able to see things at night and basically see the heat off of something, whether it's for a structure fire, you're looking for search and rescue, or whatever that may be.
Okay.
The last thing this type of sensor that you might want to think about is actually air sampling sensors. And air sampling is basically when we go into a CO call, we have that CO monitor. Think of something like that on the drone itself. So you can actually send a drone into an environment that I might, especially initially on the size of, I do realize there are systems already in place for monitoring while a hazmat call is going on to kind of get an idea. But one thing I could do with a drone is I could, if I had it fly, let's say like a lawnmower pattern, where it's kind of doing a large grid with those air sensors, I can get an idea of how a gas is moving from a particular. So if I have a hazmat spill with a potentially toxic gas, I can see how that plume, how that cloud is moving through the atmosphere. So I can make decisions based on evacuations, actually get an actual picture of what it actually looks like. The technology is there. No one's actually put all the pieces together, but I'm pretty sure probably in a couple of years we'll see those pieces come together to do so. And again, I know there's monitoring systems out there that uses Wi-Fi that interconnects and gives an idea for hazmat teams of what's going on. But I do think in the long run, drones will be able to provide, that initial size up, being able to, this is the basic thing of looking up see that UN number, so that way you can look it up, or seeing that number to call, to find out what, call the shipper, to find out what was being carried.
Okay.
And so those basic scenarios is what I would think that drones could be very, very
And whether
helpful.
you're in an urban area or...
So environment is the next piece. If I'm in an urban area, probably want something a little smaller so that I can get more kind of tight quarters. If I'm in a more bigger, let's say, rural area, I might want something that can actually fly longer distances. So I might not even go with a quadcopter. I might go with a fixed-wing aircraft that could travel, especially if I have like a lot of forest fires. Maybe I want something that could travel 10, 15 miles and come back and look at where there's potentially hot spots all the way along, map those out, and report that information back to me. So those are things I want to consider. I think for most organizations, they're going to end up getting probably one, maybe two types of drones.
Okay.
So you want to get your main stable that can do 90% of your needs.
Right.
And then the other type of drone that I would suggest most agencies, whether fire, law enforcement, whatever it may be, is a drone that has just the basic capabilities, let's say electro-optical camera, but it's kind of more of a throwaway drone.
Okay.
And I go back to like that hazmat situation. If you didn't know what that UN number, let's say a tanker fell on its side, you couldn't read it for whatever reason, you could potentially get the drone up in the air, but it could be, let's say, corrosive gas coming off that. And it's going to be, it's going to ruin the drone. I'd rather ruin a $1,000, $1,500 drone than ruining a $10,000 setup. So that's, but as your program grows, those are decisions that you'll decide. And we're all still figuring it out, but those are just my thoughts and opinions on where I'm going.
And also something I think we should consider is whether you get a drone that's, when you get it out of the box, it's ready to fly.
Yep.
Or maybe you get that drone that is, you have to assemble yourself, and that factors into the whole customization.
It's all right.
It's of the drone. Whether you want to swap out some pieces, maybe add a few things or so. And I know that you have a few factors on that, on whether you want which way to lean.
So let's talk about a customized drone. So I can buy an airframe, buy the IMU, buy the flight controller, buy the radio control, all these components. I could get all these components and put together my own drone.
Okay.
The downside to it is I assume all the risk then. Even though like making sure that it has the proper firmware, make sure all the components work together, I assume everything. If I buy a car and the brakes fail on that car because of a manufacturer flaw,
they take some of that.
Not only did they test that, but they assume some liability because their brakes didn't work. If I built the car myself, well, they have no one to blame but you. Well, you built the brakes, you built everything into it. It's your fault. It's totally your fault. And the person suing is going to be able to hold me 100% liable for the entire thing that occurred. I kind of look at drones kind of the same way. I like to have a ready-to-build aircraft or with the components that are highly tested by a manufacturer that is going to support those components. With that said, there's kind of two types of aircraft that I think about. Kind of very similar to this DJI, which is what I consider like a ready-to-fly aircraft. Charge the battery, you take it out of the box, you put the propellers on, charge the remote controller, and you can go out and be basically ready to fly.
And there are some drones, correct, that come out the box ready to fly that you can do a little bit of customization too, correct?
Well, it's not out of the box ready to fly. What I like to call those is almost ready to fly.
Okay.
So they're tested components. Most of the components are put together, but you still have to do some assembly.
Okay.
Perfect example is the DJI Matrice series. 100 and the 600 series, you have to do some assembly to put the drone. Not everything, but some assembly to put the drone together. I have Matrice 100. It took roughly about 2 hours to put it together. But if I had to put everything together, it probably would have taken me a day. And again, they assume some of that liability. DJI does, and that. Well, I should say they assume the liability, but they test their components, and so that way I have some confidence in the components that are going into it and the platform that I'm building out. The downside, with customization, I can do whatever I want with it pretty much.
Exactly.
I can put air sampling sensors, put whatever camera I want on it. The downside to a ready-to-fly aircraft is that it cannot be customized as much, or customizing is going to be much, much more difficult because it's not really made for that. I like the DJI Inspire series, specifically this Inspire 1 for public safety. I'll tell why with Inspire 1, even though I know the Inspire 2 is out. I like it because first thing is I can swap out the camera. So right now on here, I have a Z3 camera. The Z3 has zoom capabilities. It does not come with the drone itself. I have to buy it separately.
Okay.
What comes with the drone itself is a very similar looking camera called the X3. It doesn't have zoom capabilities. This one does have zoom, but I can take this camera right now and just unclick it and remove it and put another camera in its place.
Oh.
So I can put the X3 in its place. I could put another type of camera that I have down here, which is my baby. This is a thermal imaging camera that I have in here.
Okay.
So I can actually show a thermal image of what it says. It's made with FLIR. DJI makes it with FLIR. And I can just simply take it and pop off the cap and swap in that particular thermal imaging camera right into there, which sometimes a little easier said than done. There we go. And it's ready to go.
Okay.
So then it has a little lens cap that I can go ahead and pop off the lens cap, and it's ready to go. So now I just swapped out my electro-optical camera that I have on the drone and swapped out with the thermal imaging camera and did it,
Okay.
relatively
easily.
Relatively easily. There are some customizations I have made to them. Okay. So I consider like an out of the box customization that anybody can. You just go purchase and it's designed to do that. There are some that I've done to this drone that are, I can say, non-intrusive, and there's like one intrusive customization I did.
Okay.
So, excuse me. The one thing that I did do is I added a set of basically these claws that are on the bottom, and what there's these rods that I can attach a rope to, and the rods attached to a pipe clamp that's on each side of the drone.
Okay.
And they use a little bit of a padding material underneath it so it doesn't crack the carbon fiber arms. And what happens is when I take off the drone, I take it off in landing gear mode. So I turn off the smart, or if you just take off, it'll automatically raise landing gear. I turn that off. And I leave that off because I can attach a life safety vest, a radio, maybe some medical supplies, water, food to whatever victim I need based on the type of scenario that I have. Up to about a pound. I wouldn't put anything more than a pound on here. I clip it on, and then once I get out to the victim, I drop it. Okay. So I just then flip the raised landing gears. Those claws come apart, and whatever rope or whatever is being held then drops to the ground. So I'll come in, I'll fly to where I have the device, maybe about 5 or 6 feet above someone's head, maybe not directly above the head, but off to the side just a little bit, and drop it right next to them. Right. And I can do that with a pretty good accuracy. And that's only a $20 modification.
Right, but
it was really inexpensive.
These are things that you have to consider. The work that you have put into this drone is something that the respective department should have to, they should go over. Like, hey, how much we're going to buy this drone? How much work outside of that are we going to put into it, if any?
So yeah, this simple modification really wouldn't void the warranty or anything like that.
Okay.
Because it's not just I can easily take it off and it's not a big deal. Now, the modification I did that would void a warranty, but I've had this Inspire for so long, it's actually out of warranty now, is I added this first-person view camera that's on the front. So I added a RunCam Owl Plus camera to the front. Great low-light capabilities for urban environments.
Yes. Because most of our jobs, we don't get the best.
We don't get the best lighting conditions or conditions in general. Sometimes we get sunny days, sometimes we don't. Mm-hmm. Or sometimes we're flying at night. And then I run the cable on the side and use wire ties to kind of wire tie it off to the side. It stays clear of the landing arms. Comes around to the side and comes around to the back transmitter that's in the back here. And then you see the red and black wire too that actually comes back and solders onto the main board.
Okay.
If you're not comfortable soldering or understanding or testing the voltages off the Inspire, I do not suggest you do it. Now, could you add a first-person view camera to a drone? Absolutely. Like the Matrice series I talked about, absolutely made for this because it has adapter plugs that I can just plug in and have that power source, and then they have a bunch of holes that basically are on the platform that I could use to mount the camera and mount the transmitter, and it's made for that. This I had to make some modifications. There is a third-party company that allows you that provides like a kit for you to make these for this drone to make those modifications. You have to be, the only downside to that is the camera. You're probably still going to want to swap out the camera, but the only good thing is that low light camera is only $50.
Okay.
So I think it's like $200 or $300 for their kit, and then you're going to spend another $50 on the camera because I don't think the camera is really good for low light capabilities, and that's going to be one of the key things that you're going to want to do.
Of course.
So let's go ahead and just sample how that works. So what I have is I have the transmitter on the back. It's tied to the drone. So when I turn on the drone, I have this receiver. I have my hand in the receiver. I'll show you the remote controller, how it fits in there. But I just pop this open, and I can turn on the receiver, and then I turn on the drone, Inspire. And when that powers up, this is a Black Pro receiver. From flight side, you can see I have the panel there, and you can actually see us in the background. You can hopefully see that a little bit. You can see Dominique waving his hand. And that's in front of the first-person view camera that we have. So then what I did is, that same manufacturer that I talked about that makes this kit, they also, for the first-person view camera, they also make an arm, a mount, so I can actually mount 2 phone holders to this. So what I then do is I take this first-person view camera, and I just kind of pop it in here and attach it right there. So I got that first-person view camera, and then I can just take my phone holder that's right here, and I have my phone holder, and that's all ready to go. So now I can, pop my phone down here and I have full flight. I mean, it is heavier. I would probably have like a neck strap that would attach to here to help hold up some of the weight itself. But it's very flyable. I had that first person view perspective, and it works. It gets the job done. And it wasn't a whole lot of the most expensive modification was actually the out of box with the thermal imaging camera, which was about $6,000. So the last modification I want to talk about, again, this is non-intrusive modification, are these lights that I have right here. They're stream lights. I bought this. Basically, these stream lights are made to go on a Piccadilly rail on a rifle.
Okay.
But what this guy did is he 3D printed this plastic mount that has Piccadilly like rails, and I can just attach them to here. So I just put in fresh batteries, and I got this extremely bright light that I can use when flying. So sometimes thermal imaging isn't actually good in every single situation.
Right.
But sometimes just having a great set of spotlights with that Z3 camera. So what I do is I zoom in with the Z3 camera when I use these spotlights and go at a higher elevation. And the image I get, because it's focused on that zoomed in image, the entire camera, the entire sensor on that camera actually produces a pretty good quality image even at night, even though that this is, this drone could be 100, 150 feet in the air. So it's worked out really well. So for most public safety agencies, if you're getting the Inspire, get a Z3. It's going to be great.
Okay.
If you're also going to want to get a thermal imaging camera, I do realize that you're going to be looking anywhere from $6,000 upwards to $15,000, depending on what you want to get.
But again, we're just here to make things easier and safer.
It's all about making things easier and safer. So that's those are some of the key things that you actually have to take into account. Now, with that said, there are other considerations that you're going to particularly want to make with a drone. Also, how much does it cost to maintain?
Of course.
What's the skill level? The DJI series, your skill probably has to be a little bit lower than some other types. Mm-hmm. But you still need to be proficient in how to drone with and without, I guess you could say, the ease features, like the features that make it easy to fly. You should also learn how to fly it when it's hard to fly, for when it's just fantasy mode without GPS. Now, one thing I want to point out is that DJI just came out with the Inspire 2. And for all the public safety agencies out there, for right now, I recommend that you do not purchase the Inspire 2. And the reasoning for it is this gimbal adapter that's on the drone. They have totally changed that gimbal adapter. So this Z3, this DJI XT will not fit the Inspire 2 because they changed the gimbal and the way the drone mount, the way the camera mounts to it. I'm hoping that they're going to come out with an adapter. Now, they may not make an adapter for the Z3, but the XT, considering it's like a $6,000 camera, like minimally,
right?
I really hope they're going to come, because otherwise you're going to have a lot of angry customers. DJI is, because that's a significant investment. And to say, oh great, you just bought your Inspire 1. We just came out with the XT like a year ago. I can't use it on the new drones. I can't see DJI doing that.
The manufacturer of whatever drone you're trying to purchase or type of drone you're trying to purchase should also be a factor in, which way you're going. Correct?
Yeah. So that's kind of the upside to building a customized platform. Mm-hmm. You're supporting everything. So exactly. That's the one upside to a customized platform. And there are people who are on both sides of the fence. Mm-hmm. I think going this direction is good, because one thing I know about DJI, at least to date, when enough people have complained, they've listened and they made changes. For instance, this Z3 camera, when I bought it, would not fit on the Osmo, which is a handheld device. I could use it like outside of the drone. It wouldn't work. I could attach it to it. It just sat there limp. Enough people complained. DJI updated the firmware for the Z3, so now it works fine with the Osmo.
Okay.
So they do listen, which is great as a manufacturer. And I think, overall, if you look at most agencies out there, they're using a Phantom, they're using an Inspire. Some of them will use, like Lockheed has a drone too. I think it's called the Indigo or Indigo. I can't pronounce it off the top of my head. It's a $25,000 drone minimally, and that's just the basics. It's small and it's supposed to be incredibly quiet, which would be great for law enforcement. Like, these obviously are not really meant to be quiet.
Of course.
But, you know, it's supposed to be, you know, it's Lockheed, so you know they're a good company, and yes, it's a $25,000 drone. Yes, you're going to, all the other attachments and things that come with it are going to cost you money. It's not going to be able to lift anything because it is a relatively small drone. It's supposed to be quiet, like one of the quieter drones that are out there.
Okay.
You know, one of the things that they build is that you can't actually take the drone and like leave it in your trunk for a while. Do I think most agencies will ever need it? No. Maybe something like a New York, Los Angeles, Chicago Fire Department, police department, where they have SWAT teams. Maybe they might use it for being tactical. But for most calls, I actually rather hear the drone buzzing around so I at least know where it's at than it being overly quiet. That's really just about it. I mean, those are the factors I would actually go into selecting the right drone for a public agency. So there's a lot to think about.
Of course.
But, you know, create that checklist. You know, for most agencies, for most people I've talked to, they've pretty much always gone to a DJI. There are, whether it's a Phantom, in most agencies maybe start off with like a Phantom 3 or Phantom 4.
Okay.
And then get the Inspire because they just want to, they just are kind of dabbling into it and kind of starting the program. Because again, it's a significant investment. And the thing about these drones is if you think you're going to buy it and keep it around for 10 years, no. It's probably going to be non-functional probably in 4 or 5 years. But because the technology is going to increase so much. Exactly. And it's just like computers and PCs. You know, you can get your Windows XP computer limping along, but that's what you're going to be doing, limping along. And you're still going to need devices to be able to control a drone. Exactly. Now, one cool thing that DJI is doing, and it has not come out yet, like I have not seen it, you can get it with the Phantom 4 Pro. I don't think you can get it on. I don't think they're shipping this yet. It's called Crystal Sky. Mm-hmm. It's a screen that you can see in bright daylight. Has like 1,000 nits, which is between 1,000 and 1,200. They say what you need for sunny days, and that's like the 5.5 inch screen. They have like a 7.85 inch screen that actually can get up to 2,000 nits of brightness. Don't ask me what nits are. Just know that's the number I'm looking for.
All right.
But the key thing is, it's an interface to control the drone. It's a touch interface. It's an Android device. It's not a cell phone. It's an Android like mini tablet. But it's specifically made for controlling the drone. And I really, really like that because it doesn't have all the overhead that like a Samsung or some other manufacturer is going to put like all that, I don't want to say garbageware, but just the things that you don't need to fly a drone.
Right.
It's just bare bones of what you need to fly your drone. And it's single purposed. I think that's very, very useful.
It is. Bless you.
So, what else? Do you have any other questions, or that pretty much kind of sum up what you're talking about?
That pretty much sums it up. I'll do any agency or, person interested in getting a drone, join those communities as well.
Oh yeah,
join those drone communities because just like us, they can give you that little bit of information that will help you get over the top and make you a better pilot.
If you go to Saving Lives with Drones, we have some links on the left-hand side. One of them is the Facebook public safety group, so you can just go there, click on it. You have to get accepted because they do vet you, making sure that you're part of a fire department or police department.
Of course.
But, they're a great community. I really, really appreciate them. There's also a lot around learning and education.
Of course.
Such as like what I went through, like with Drone U. There are others that are out there as well. So you can find those groups on Facebook and obviously, learn a lot from them and share your thoughts and experiences because this is new for everybody.
Of course.
So it's constantly changing. No one has exactly always the right answer. There are people that do have some experience more so than others. And, I'm learning constantly. I know you're learning constantly.
Always.
So it's a constant thing. One thing I just have to say is, just be willing to always be learning and willing to, sometimes you're going to be wrong and it just is what it is.
It's a life lesson.
It is always a life lesson.
Yeah.
So with that, I'd like to remind everybody to don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Also our Facebook page.
Yep.
Again, you can find us at savingliveswithdrones.org. You can also go to facebook.com /Saving Lives with Drones to find us or search for us on YouTube. With that said, my name was Keenan,
And I'm Dominique.
and you were listening to Saving Lives with Drones.